Hello, my Fossipaws! Today I'm going to be explaining why I dislike some of my customs. This is sort of going to be a sequel or a spin-off to my custom Beanie Boot collection where I ranked them. In that video I wanted to explain why I ranked some of them so low, but that would have made it a very long video. So I decided to make it its own video on my second channel. I'm not going to be talking about the customs that I really like, only the ones that I dislike. Because I could go on and on about how I love some of my customs, but that wouldn't be very interesting. So let's get right into it. Alright, so the first custom I'm going to be talking about is a custom Pegasus. It used to be named Pegasus and it used to be a unicorn, which I cannot explain how much I dislike that name. And it is now Majesty the Alicorn, which an alicorn is basically a unicorn but with wings. And this one placed dead last in my rankings video, 18th place. I believe it also placed the same in last year's ranking video. So it's been one whole year since I've made this and I still dislike it. There are many reasons why I dislike it, and it's not the concept or really even the appearance of it. It's mostly the little nitty-gritty details and design features. Because from far away, it looks okay. It looks like, a alicorn. It looks cool. But once you look up closer, you realize how sloppy and rushed it looks. The concept was a great idea, but the execution of it just makes it look really tacky. And it's overall just very poorly made. Had I been a little more patient, taken a little more time with it, or just been more careful, it would have turned out so much better. Also, as mentioned before, it has been one whole year since this custom has been made. And since then, I've learned a lot more techniques that are way better for customizing. For example, the first thing that I dislike about it is one of the techniques I used. So at the time, I had just discovered a brand new technique that I thought was so amazing. This, in quotes, technique was sort of trying to replicate the scratchy fabric, which now I heavily dislike the scratchy fabric, but again, at the time, I really liked it and wanted to replicate that on my customs. So if I ever wanted something to be more glittery, I would cover the surface in hot glue and then pour glitter over it. Which, if done very carefully and tediously, yeah, it can look pretty cool. But there are multiple problems with this, one of them being obviously glitter sheds, and over time, it will just fall off and look really bad. It also lumps and clumps, and there's really no way to fix that when you're working with hot glue. So if you make a mistake, then you just have to live with it. Secondly, not only does it just not look very great if not done properly, but I also didn't have enough patience or hot glue to finish the job on the hooves. So they ended up being very unfinished. The main thing that I dislike about it, more so than all the other things, is the fur I used for the mane and tail. I cut off his original mane and tail and replaced it with furry, stuff. Which, again, good concept in theory, but it sheds a lot. And rather than looking like a nice, beautiful, fluffy mane, it just comes off in tufts, gets up your nose, makes you sneeze, goes all over the room. It's just really not a pleasant experience at all. And even if it didn't shed on top of that, you can still see the original mane, which is just so sloppy and lazy on my part. And it is white, so it's going to get dirty much easier. And it collects dust and lint and hair. It's just bad. The next issue I have is with the little glue-on or stick-on gems that I used for the ears. Number one, they're too big for the ear. Number two, the adhesive collects and attracts hair. And number three, I didn't take the time to glue them on with hot glue. I just trusted the adhesive rather than going on and actually securing them, which would have made it look so much neater and wouldn't make it as fragile. I feel like, I always have the opportunity to go back and secure it with glue if I wanted to. I just haven't wanted to go back and waste hot glue on this, honestly. And the second to last issue I have with this is again just rushed and sloppily applied features. For the unicorn horn, there was nothing stopping me from trimming it down and carefully applying it with hot glue. Keep in mind this is before I knew how to sew. So I'm aware that sewing it would have made, like, I could have easily sewn the horn to the head, but at the time I didn't know how to sew, so hot glue is what I was doing. But I could have, like, there was nothing stopping me from carefully applying that glue and trimming down the horn. I was just lazy. Also, the horn already had shedding glitter on it. Which one tip I have for customizing is if you're going to use features from another Beanie Boo, at least make sure they're new or not shedding. Like, it's not like it shedded over time. I used an already shedded horn for a custom. That's just, like, you're setting yourself up for failure if you're using already broken or, like, damaged looking pieces. And there are hot glue blobs all over the place, which that doesn't look good for anything, custom or not. Same thing with the wings. I definitely could have taken time and applied a small amount of hot glue, but instead I blobbed them on because I was impatient. Overall, I've just learned so much since this custom, and even though I hate it and I feel like it was a waste of materials and I really wish I could just use this for parts, I definitely learned a lot from it, and it was definitely, like, it gave me a lot of lessons for customizing in the future. If you're interested in this horrible custom, which I don't know why you would be, it is available for sale on my Mercari for $5 plus shipping, because I really just want it out of here. I will even lower the price if you ask, because I dislike this heavily and just want it out. And the last thing I hate about this custom, and in my opinion, no matter how good of a Beanie Boo it is, even if you did a fantastic job customizing it, this little thing can ruin the whole thing and just ruin the whole entire end look of it. Don't customize Beanie Boos with obvious or severe eye scratches. At the time, this was my only duplicate Pegasus that I could work with, and I just really wanted to customize it, so even though I didn't like the eye scratch, I was like, you know what, it's fine, it's just an eye scratch, but bad, like, what could it possibly do? It just makes the whole thing, it's just that perfect little messed up cherry on top that just completes the whole trashy look of it. Even though I did a horrible job customizing it, the eye scratch just completes it. If it weren't for that eye scratch, yeah, even though I did a bad job customizing it, it would have looked so much better if it weren't for that obvious eye scratch. It just makes the quality look poor, it's not pretty, it's hard to fix. Just please don't customize Beanie Boos with big eye scratches. It's just sad. Pretty sure most of you already knew that and it was just me who made that mistake, but... And honestly, if it was just minor scuffs, not a big deal, you can cover those up, but this was a deep incision type of scratch in it, so just don't do it. So I originally intended on making this one video talking about multiple customs that I dislike, but it takes a decent amount of time to talk about each custom, and that would make for a really long video. Most people probably don't even and are not gonna even want to watch this one, so I highly doubt that people would want to watch like a 20-minute video about me just ragging on and on about how much I dislike my customs. So I've decided that I'm going to make this a series of episodes, where in each episode I talk about a different custom and different things that I dislike about those customs. So let's just call this the first episode, talking about Majesty the Alicorn. Honestly, this was the one that made me think of the whole entire series. Like, I hated this one so much that I felt the need to make a series of episodes about it. The other episodes may be a little shorter or a little longer, but I have less to critique on the other ones. So, I hope you enjoyed the first episode of critiquing my customs. Let me know any feedback about this series, and I will see you in another video. Hey, hey!